All right. Hey, it's been a minute. It's good to see everybody. Hey, I was gone. I was on vacation. Chris, thank you so much for holding down the fort, man. But it's good to be back talking some Chargers football. Hey, I should have worn it. I got a Chargers hat while I was on vacation. Anyways, couple of things here. If you're new to this channel, we like to talk about the Chargers. As you can see, based on my background, we're not just Chargers fans. We're actually Lions fans. And we started another channel, Sports Talk Detroit. But we love this man right here, Jim Harbaugh. We're Michigan fans living in Michigan. And so when he went to the Chargers, we thought, man, what an awesome opportunity to start another channel and give a non-biased opinion, kind of, to the Chargers fans. And so we really hope that you enjoy this. And if you do, hit that subscribe button. We're pushing for 5,000 right off the bat here. All right, so let's talk about this. The Chargers are talking about adding depth at a great position of need. They have been linked to a wide receiver. Now, I'm reading this article on the Bolt Beat, and they're not very high on this. It says Chargers are interested in most underwhelming free agent receiver imaginable. I disagree. I actually disagree with that. I don't think he's the most underwhelming free agent receiver available. But just in case you're wondering who it is MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And Marquez Valdez-Scantling is known for a couple of things. He is known for speed. Okay, he is absolutely known for speed. And by the way, this isn't the only thing I'm going to talk about in this. I'm going to talk about top 30s, other options at wide receiver, and a signing that I think we glossed over in the last week, and you're going to want to hang out for that too. All right, but he's known for a few things. Speed. All right, he absolutely has that. He's known for dropping the football. Okay, he's very good at doing that as well. But, and he's known for being an underwhelming wide receiver as far as what you hoped he would have been. He just hasn't put it all together. And he's spent his time playing for Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. Now, I'm going to explain to you why I think going with Herbert could actually be better for him than it was with the other two quarterbacks. And I know it's going to sound crazy, but I promise you I think it is. But first, we're going to look at that speed portion of it. This is a guy who runs a sub 4.40. He came out of South Florida in 2018. He was a 5th round pick from the Packers. So you sit here and you're like, man, he never lived up to the hype. But when you remember that he was a 5th round pick, all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, he actually kind of did live up to the hype. He's been in the NFL for 6 years. Like, that's good. He's hung around. He is absolutely a flawed receiver, but he's 6'4". He's 206 pounds. He has great speed, and he is a deep threat. It's that simple. If you understand what he is, then all of a sudden his numbers don't look too bad, to be completely honest with you. All right, in his 4 years with Green Bay, he averaged around 60 targets, and he would catch about 54% of those targets. All right, because there were a lot of deep shots. There were. His yards per reception in those 4 years were 15.3, 17.4, 20.9, where it was his peak. All right, and then 16.5. That's very high yards per catch. And then in 22 and 23 with KC, 16.4 and 15, with arguably his best season coming in 2022, where he caught 42 balls for 687 yards. All right, that was a really good year. I would still say 2020 was his best year. All right, and he did that, not in the most efficient way possible, but it wasn't bad either. So if you, and here's where I want to talk about why I think he could be better with Herbert than he was with Rodgers and with Patrick Mahomes. No receivers with Patrick Mahomes, other than Tyreek Hill, and even with Rodgers, you can talk about Jordy Nelson, you can talk about Devontae Adams. They have their guys. And if they don't have that alpha, they just throw it to everyone, both of these guys. And what we've seen from Herbert is that 2 or even 3 wide receivers can absolutely get their fill, and he's willing to throw it to his players. He's willing to do what the play dictates very, very much, where I think that's similar to Mahomes. And so the question is, are you going to allow MVS to be that guy? Now, is he good at drops? Yes. Did he have a key catch during the playoffs this year? Yes. Like, so if the Chargers end up going out and getting this guy, again, don't expect him to be like this phenomenal player who's going to be number one wide receiver. But he is a guy who it changes a little bit what the defense has to do. You have to respect him, especially when you have a guy who has a cannon like Herbert at quarterback. All right? So that's where I want to go. Now I want to go to just a couple of other things, and I want to talk for a second about top 30 visits. Some people think they're important. Some people don't. Jim Harbaugh has always been a very close to the vest type of guy when it comes to who's coming in and all that kind of stuff and what he's willing to give. I think he'll learn the longer he's in the NFL that you don't have to be so darn secretive like you are in college football. Now, here's the reported visits and private workouts, and we can kind of get an idea based on this, all right? You got Malik Neighbors and Brendan Rice at wide receiver. When you look at the defensive line, you got Fisk and you have Latu. All right? Very good players. You have one linebacker in Cooper. You've got a safety and another DB. You got Julius Woods out of East Carolina. And then you have Richardson out of Mississippi State. Then, of course, you have Corum at running back. So here's what this tells me. Going back, and we don't know a ton about the GM, but what we do know is where he comes from, right? We know where he comes from, and that is Baltimore. And what we knew is that a top 30 meant a lot in Baltimore because they ended up drafting a lot of their top 30 players. Now, will Joe Ortiz end up doing the same thing as the Ravens did? That's a question that we are going to start finding out. Here's the thing. A lot of times, like for example, on our Lions channel, I can tell you what Brad Holmes is looking for. I can tell you that that's our GM. I can tell you that he is going to value his board above everything else. And it's just like you don't know what he's going to do. It's not based off the top 30. It's not based off position of need. But what you know is he is going to draft what he believes is the best player available at the time he drafts. Doesn't matter what his room looks like. Last year, 12th pick. All right, we have David Montgomery, who we just signed to a big contract for him at the time for running backs this year. They made it look small. All right, 3 years, $18.5 million. And we had DeAndre Swift. He didn't care. Jahmyr Gibbs, in his mind, was the best player available, so we ended up trading Swift, and off you go. All right, it's the same thing. A position of need. Linebacker? Maybe, yeah, we needed a linebacker, but at 18, it didn't make sense. He didn't care. He was the best player on his board, so he took him. Jack Campbell. Look, we don't know what Ortiz is going to do, but what we do know is that this wide receiver room needs help. It needs help. Right now, there's Quentin Johnson, Josh Palmer, Darius Davis, and Fajoku. Yeah, no, that's not going to work. But you get one veteran or two in there, and then you draft a stud wide receiver in the draft, and all of a sudden it's not looking so bad. And I'm going to make this argument that Herbert is a guy that can be good with anyone. And we have another team that we have talked about, we have covered, and there's a jersey of him right here, of Nico Collins, is the Houston Texans. And I want to bring you back to before last year started with the Texans for hope for the Chargers. Their wide receiver room was Nico Collins, okay? Nico Collins, Robert Woods, aging receiver, and Tank Dell. Like, those were maybe their best three. They got Noah Brown, too, who never really did much in Dallas. They had Mechie, who's coming off cancer. Like, there was nothing of any of those receivers that said they're going to have a great year. The last couple of years of Woods were mediocre at best, similar to actually Valdez-Scantling's years. And so, all of a sudden, all these guys, Nico Collins becomes the third best PFF-rated receiver. right? Tank Dell is arguably one of the best, if definitely a top 3 rookie wide receiver, if not the best rookie wide receiver last year. Why? I mean, like, until he got hurt. Noah Brown went off when he was able to play when he wasn't hurt. Why did all this happen? Why did the receiving core look so good? CJ Stroud. You have Herbert. Everybody's going to look good there. All right, so he's going to make decent receivers look better. And who knows what they think they have in Quentin Johnston. Maybe they think, hey, he's going to be a good number 2 to play on the outside, and we just need one other guy. All right, we need a Neighbors or something like that. Maybe they don't even think they need that. Maybe they think they can make Rice a great receiver. I think that's a perfect fit. So anyways, I told you I wasn't going to just do that. I told you I was going to say that there's one other signing. We'll just spend a minute or two talking about it. It is a former Michigan player by the name of Ben Mason. All right, Ben Mason was kind of a dual threat guy in high school. Played running back, played linebacker. Came to Michigan and did the same thing. Fullback. Is he going to be a fullback? Is he going to be a tight end? Is he going to be a linebacker? Where they ended up using him a lot, obviously as a blocking fullback, and they gave him the ball in short yardage situations. Ben Mason is just a big, strong man. And he actually has pretty good athleticism. And so he's just a guy that if you want your run game to go off well and you actually want to utilize a fullback, he might work. All right. And so that's just one of those guys that, hey, you bring him here. Will he make the team? I don't know. But could he play good special teams? Absolutely. He has defensive experience. He did play in 2023, almost primarily special teams with the Ravens. So this is a special teams guy, but might be a decent depth piece and could be a guy who comes in and gets some good blocking from the fullback position. So anyways, lots of stuff coming off vacation. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and see ya on the next one.